So the Mercedes GLS, the all-new GLS, has just been launched, and soon after the launch, I've got Santosh Iyer, who is the head of Mercedes India's sales, marketing, and service, talking to us. Santosh, thanks for joining us. Last time we spoke, we were both at home, and now we are both in the office. So some progress, some sign of normalcy coming back.
Yeah, it's a
Clearly, I
it's a
think
welcome.
I think it feels good to be back in the office. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, same here. Actually, we started our plant around 8th of May, in fact, 6th of May, and then we used to come once a week. Then we started making twice, then alternate days, and now last 2 weeks I'm here almost every day. And that fear psychosis or whatever, many of our colleagues we all had is all gone. And now I think this is the new normal, and that we generally say that, but we live that now. And I think today's launch is also a different perspective to the new normal or the way we are launching and introducing products as such. But yes, it feels good to be nice back and good to again catch up in our individual offices.
And Santosh, talking about coming this fear psychosis, just before we go on, I mean, are people getting a little less scared, to put it very plainly? Are they a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more confident that now, with the whole month gone by, it's been pretty okay. They're still safe and healthy. How's the kind of mood in people coming to work?
I think if I talk to my colleagues, etc., I won't say the scare has gone away. I think the scare of the virus is still there, and I think it's good that there should be some scare because otherwise people let their guards loose. Frankly, nothing has
No,
changed.
what I
We'll
meant, the
almost
scare of coming to work. That's what I meant. Yeah.
that of course, because I think when you come to work and in our factory, I think earlier Piyush also mentioned about all the social distancing norms and also all the measures that we have taken. I think people get a confidence. Our own colleagues are very confident to come now, come in the buses. Many of them use our company buses. We have ensured the social distancing norm even there. So I think that confidence is back, and they also see us. In fact, we have gone a bit ahead of what the local regulations stipulate. We also follow whatever Robert Koch Institute says, tells us. Daimler global policies are also fully implemented in our setup. So I think the confidence is there of the company and about the safety protocols. We have extended that to dealerships also because whatever knowledge we got, because we were fortunate being a global company, we got some inputs from other markets. We actually shared this with our retail partners. They have implemented SOPs. They are now slowly, their employees, and also when they meet customers, they are feeling a bit more confident. But it will take time. This will not be fast. Today, as I said, from 6th of May till say June, now it's almost 40 odd days we have started up. There is a different sense. But if I just look back, even 20 days back, this confidence was not there. But now we are, it's becoming normal wearing masks. I just removed it for the interview, but otherwise we are all masked, and that's the new way that we look at each other.
Right. And, just coming straight to the GLS, all new GLS, it's been 10 years since it was launched. How time flies, and you sold about, Martin was saying you sold about 6,700 of them. So not a very large number, but I think large enough to make you claim that this is the largest selling SUV in its class.
Yeah, just to put in perspective, 2010 we launched the CBUs, and it was 2013 when we launched the CKDs. And the bulk of these volumes of 6,700 have actually come in the last 3 years' time. And
Right.
To tell you, even last year, we did more than 1,000 odd cars, and that something shows the strength of GLS. It grew even last year. On a CAGR basis, it has grown by 20 odd percent. So I think it clearly shows it's a clear segment leader by itself. And so that really gives us right now. For the last 6 months we didn't have the car because we phased it out in December. Earlier plan was to do it in March, but we had preponed, and so for 6 months with this vacuum we already see consumer demand. Just the moment I think on 27th or the tweets went out, and we had customers asking and booking cars. So I think GLS is a very special product in our portfolio for us.
Okay. And, just talking about the GLS, it's grown quite a lot, 1,000 in last year. That's pretty good. So I think who is the GLS customer really? And, obviously the third row of seats, it's your kind of the SUV with which has got 3 rows of seats. How important is that in this segment? And are people who buy this basically people who want that extra row? Or is it, they just want a big car which they want to use as a 5-seater? Or are there people who might occasionally use it but just like to have it?
Yeah, I think firstly the customers are, of course, because it's a car upward of 1.2 crores on road. So definitely they are, many of them are industrialists, businessmen, from a socio-economic profile. But what is an insight is they generally have families and sometimes joint families or even singular families, but then they have maids. Some of them love dogs and pets, and they go out together. And that's when they need one car to go together, and that's where the GLS serves the purpose. But again, when I speak to some of them, it's not just the third row, because the third row is there, but it's a comfortable third row seat. It's a proper seat where even any of the children or anybody can sit. Plus the safety aspect of a GLS. Even this new GLS now has 9 airbags. We have curtain airbags also in the sides. So that gives the consumers or our customers a bit more confidence to go not only for seven-seater but a safer seven-seater and an adequately good enough leg space even in the third row seating. So the key driver is of course family usage along with pets and others, and they need larger car, and GLS serves that purpose as such.
Right, but the sense one gets is that the GLS's main USP will continue to be the third row, because I think its biggest competitor for people not needing the third row might be the GLE itself. It's
Yeah.
got a longer wheelbase, and you've launched it with more powerful engines as well. So, do you think there might be a bit of cannibalization of GLS with the GLE, which again has become bigger, it's more powerful, and the only thing missing in that really is the third row? Otherwise, it's a pretty comfortable vehicle as well.
No, of course. I think it's clearly positioned differently. And if you see the GLS, it has a chauffeur package. It's also meant for customers who may be sitting in the rear, in the middle row seat. A bit more luxury appointments there in the GLS. Also, the rear tablet, for example, is something there. So it's much more closer to the S class. And I would say the GLE is more closer to the E class. So that's how it's positioned in the SUV segment. So of course,
As
the
well.
E, although being a long wheelbase, coexists with the S class because the customer profile is completely different between E and the S. Similarly, even in the SUV space, we see a distinct customer need for the GLE, and maybe the GLS will cater to a much more consumer who also want luxury much more. It's not only about the third row seat, it's also about the added luxury quotient that's there in the car.
Got it. And let's look at, you've launched the car, 99.9 lakhs introductory pricing, Bata pricing, just about under a crore. So it's but what's interesting is that you've launched the petrol and diesel at the identical price. I can't remember when you last did that, because normally there is some difference. So what's the strategy behind that? Is it just basically to give customers a complete choice and let them choose between the two fuels?
No, firstly, there was a reason behind the differential pricing between the petrol and the diesel also, because diesel, of course, much more content goes into the car in terms of emission, catcon, and many other topics which goes.
Exactly.
So that's the reason diesels were always more expensive, but it was always pitched as more fuel efficient. And that's why the diesel offtake was always high in India and also in other parts of the world, apart from the torque and other benefits that the diesel gives. Right now, if you see this petrol engine that we have launched, it also has the EQ boost, and that's something added power given. That means more batteries to store those power to give that instant acceleration, higher torque on demand, and that's also a cost. So if I add those costs into the petrol engine to make it also as fuel efficient and also more powerful to give that torquey feel, etc., it almost equates with the diesel engine. So the now the question is, what should a consumer prefer? And here there are certain consumers who feel diesel may not be here to stay. For them, the petrol is an option. The 0 to 100 doesn't change much. They also get efficiency because of EQ boost. And then we have the traditional diesel customers who love the engines just for the nature. They have been driving diesels for many of their lives. So that's why both the options and the pricing is same, because the content has been added on the petrol engines also.
No, yeah, but it's interesting. The content's added on the petrol engine, but even the diesel with BS6 has also become more expensive, because you've got the AdBlue tank, SCR and stuff like that. But what you're
Yeah,
saying is, because of the battery and the,
the EQ
it's
boost.
the EQ boost, the petrol has become more expensive
Yes.
as a result. But, from the consumer's point of view, identical pricing, what do you see the way the demand is going? Because one would imagine diesels are all about, and big SUVs are all about strong diesels. So, do you see diesel actually, still taking most of the market share
No,
going
for
forward?
sure. I think we still have a 30-70 kind of a mix on diesels and petrols. and we don't see that radically changing for some time. There is still a 30% of our consumers who buy petrols, and then even in the large SUVs, and 70% are predominantly diesel. So that's the reason of giving an offering for both the segments. At the same time, cross shift will only happen with government interventions. If government comes, like in Delhi, we had 3 years back the diesel ban and some other topics, that's where the customer gets sensitive to the fuel type, and then he prefers maybe a petrol and maybe it's safer. But the good thing is now the government has also given a new sticker. Yeah, there is a new for the BS6. There is a separate line for that, so it distinct in the orange sticker itself. So that distinguishes the BS6 diesel from the BS4 diesel. So technically, customers don't have to worry about that, and they can go for the BS6 diesels also.
But having said that, there's even a differentiation in color on between petrol and diesel itself. So clearly, I wouldn't say discrimination, but there is some kind of, let's say, demarcation between the fuel types rather than going just from an emission level standpoint. So
Yeah.
what do you think about that? I mean, all BS6 cars should have had the same kind of color coding.
No, ideally, yes, because now, with the latest technologies, the emissions and more, particularly when we talk about CO2, the diesels are even better. But, there was a lot of discussions with the government also, and they came with a three-sticker rule as such. The good part is, if we have to see it positively, they have now given a distinction for BS6 diesel. So that itself is a first step trying to reduce the so-called differentiation between petrols and diesels. But because those stickers were in place, and now to change the color codes for the diesels, I think it was also administratively a challenge, and that's why this decision. So for consumers, I would say they can be a bit assured that now the even those orange stickers will have a strip, and that gives them a confidence that yes, maybe in the future these cars will not be affected in case of any ban or ruling, because the emission values are much better.
Right. And, Santosh, just to understand this, sticking with diesel, there's some manufacturers who are out of diesel are making a case strongly for petrol. I would say maybe even misleading consumers. Do you think this is causing a bit of confusion, and the facts on diesel are not really being presented properly to the customer vis-a-vis everything, vis-a-vis the emissions, vis-a-vis the running costs, all that sort of thing? I know you all have both fuel types, so you all will take a more neutral stand on it. But what is the general perception of diesel from some of the customers, especially going upmarket where fuel cost really doesn't play that much of a difference?
No, I think it's all a culmination of factors, and this is where industry also, and I'm saying very specific to India. When the entire transition to BS6 was being mooted by the government, there was a lot of resistance also by some of the automotive players, and that led to more discussions and more negative discussions in general about diesel as a topic. Also, the cases going on in the honorable courts, etc. Having said that, we as a manufacturer always believed in fuel neutrality. We said that first we should be transparent with the consumer on the emission side. We should be able to clear the local emission norms. So whatever the government and the law of the land sets, and this also includes the CAFE norms, for example, the average fuel efficiency norms. So as long as you are in this parameter, the customer should be given an option to choose. And there the manufacturer can play between a mix of petrols, diesels, and also maybe electric in the future. And this is where the freedom should be given to the consumer, and the manufacturer should be actually guided by the CAFE norms and others, so that at least one can also plan long term. All these investments in aging technologies don't happen overnight. So if the policy is stable, and if we are able to look into from a holistic view, I think all fuel types have their own merits and demerits, and one cannot bat for only petrol or only diesel, and both are unfair. So ideally, this should be left to the consumer to be chosen, and manufacturers should be responsible to meet the norms set by the law of the land.
Right. And yeah, absolutely. So I think, but clearly the diesel petrol debate is going to rage on further. And I think, with especially when we get to 2023, when RDE comes in. But I just want to, move to the market right now. Martin made a very important point that he sees light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, obviously things are very volatile right now, still very unpredictable, but I think he's being cautiously optimistic. What is your sense, by light at the end of the tunnel? Do you see customer confidence coming back, things stabilizing? We are learning to live with the virus. There is a new normal, but people want to get on with their lives, including buying cars, commuting, getting back to work. What's the sense you are getting? And, how's that being reflected in the showrooms?
Yeah, on a lighter note, I would say the new GLS has LEDs which can even throw lights up to 650 meters. So basically, we can cross the tunnel, we can see it clearly. hopefully we could have that visibility even on the economic side. See, we just started. Frankly, our dealership started, many of them on 18th of May, and many of them started on 1st of June. For example, Bombay, we have just starting. That also alternate days on, off. So basically, we will need a month of June to really assimilate what's going to happen, what is the consumer offtake. Digital inquiries are a lot. Will they lead into conversions? What's going to happen on ground? The new product inquiries are also there. For example, our GLE and GLS, we already have a good order bank and we can continue. But what happens to the other cars and will the market come back? So I think after a month, it may become more clearer. Having said that, it's a no-brainer that if one quarter is lost, this cannot be made up. So a double-digit degrowth is a given for this year is our estimation clearly. What we are only looking at is how this recovery curve will come up and can we expect at least the quarter four to be same as last year quarter four, at least because last year quarter four was also not great. We had the economic headwinds and others, but even if we reach those levels, I think India would have done a good job in comeback. But you know the variables are a lot. You have seen heard about lockdowns in now new states. We are yet not out of the first wave. I think it will be not right to assume we are already out of the first wave and we are into operative business. I think one thing which gives me confidence is, you know, the uncertainty avoidance index is very different in India. So we generally bounce back out of these crises. For us, uncertainty is a way of life. So I don't think the virus will hold us back. But what will hold us back is the macroeconomic situation because many of the people, you know, when you look into the market, jobs being lost or, you know, industry not, the demand not being there. That may cause some ripple effects also in our segment in luxury as such. And the costs are high. You know, we have such high fixed cost on as an OEM, we have fixed cost on the dealer side, we have on the supplier side. So all this will lead to more pressure in the industry, and then we have to see what turn it takes. Either people sell cars more, trying to recover these costs, or they just cut down on cost and reduce the overall production and the supply side itself. And this will be different for different nameplates or manufacturers. But this is what will happen, I think, after 1 or 2 months, once you see the trend of the market.
Right. Well, great, Santosh. Thanks for that outlook and insight on the market. Clearly, reason to be optimistic, but at the same time, being practical that there are a lot of headwinds. And as you said, this virus isn't going away. It's manifesting itself in many forms. But let's just hope, we get it behind us. And congrats on the GLS launch and wish you all the best and looking forward to the next couple of launches. I know you've got a lot lined up this year. So I know we're going to meet more often. Let's hope soon it'll be in person rather than over a Skype call. Thanks very much.
I was about to say that actually. Next time, maybe we go the next step and now meet in person. Maybe. Let's see. Hope to do that. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Santosh. Thanks for talking
Thank
to
you.
us.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.